My sister told a room full of tech executives that I probably fix printers or something. My own mother nodded and said, "Brittany's the impressive one." Dr. Karen Walsh, my chief technology officer, the woman who sold her last startup for $120 million, sat 3 seats away. Her fork froze midway to her mouth. I'm Maya Patel, 32 years old. I lead the AI division at Tech Ventures in Boston, making $285,000 a year. I hold 8 patents. My healthcare diagnostic AI system runs in 340 hospitals across North America. Forbes put my photo on their technology homepage 3 months ago with the headline, "Female Engineer Revolutionizes AI Healthcare Diagnostics." My family had no idea. For 15 years, they never asked. Not once. They were too busy funding my sister's essential oil pyramid schemes and crypto nonsense with $85,000 of bailout money. Last Thanksgiving, that changed. Not because I exploded. Not because I screamed or cried or made a scene. I did something colder. I invited my CTO to Christmas dinner. And I let the evidence speak for itself. Before I tell you how 15 years of being invisible ended with one conversation at a Christmas party, drop a comment if you've ever been the overlooked sibling, the one who worked twice as hard and got half the credit. Hit subscribe if you want to hear how quiet people handle betrayal when they finally stop being quiet. Because this story isn't about revenge. It's about receipts. Let me back up. I graduated from MIT with honors when I was 22. Summa cum laude. 3.94 GPA. Computer science and artificial intelligence. I paid my own way through with academic scholarships, coding freelance gigs, and 3 years of tutoring entitled undergrads who couldn't debug their intro Python assignments. The week I graduated, my parents threw a party. Not for me. For my sister Brittany's acceptance to community college. She'd applied to exactly one school and gotten in with a 2.1 GPA. Mom bought a cake. Dad invited 40 relatives. I stood in the kitchen in my MIT hoodie, watching everyone congratulate Brittany on her academic journey. Nobody asked about my diploma. For the next decade, I built my career in silence. I joined Tech Ventures as a junior software engineer at 23. By 26, I was leading a team. By 29, I was filing patents for AI diagnostic tools that could detect heart disease from patient data patterns doctors missed. I published 12 technical papers. I spoke at conferences. TechCrunch wrote about our healthcare AI breakthrough. CNN interviewed me about machine learning in medicine. My parents never asked what I did for work. Meanwhile, Brittany bounced between multi-level marketing schemes like they were Tinder profiles. LuLaRoe leggings. Young Living essential oils. Some blockchain wellness thing I couldn't even understand. She lived rent-free in my parents' basement in suburban Chicago, the same bedroom she'd had since high school, and called herself a digital entrepreneur on Instagram. Her income? $0. Ever. Dad had bailed her out 6 times. $85,000 total across failed businesses that were obviously pyramid schemes. Never repaid. Not a single dollar. I paid my own rent in Boston. 1-bedroom apartment in Cambridge, $2,300 a month. I bought my own car, a practical Honda Civic I'd driven for 8 years. I funded my own retirement accounts, my own health insurance after aging off their plan, my own life. And every single time I visited home, Mom would introduce Brittany to guests as the creative one with vision and me as someone who does computer stuff. Computer stuff. I led a team of 12 engineers. We developed AI systems that saved lives. Our healthcare diagnostic tool had a 94% accuracy rate for detecting early-stage cardiac anomalies that human doctors missed 70% of the time. That meant real patients walking into hospitals got diagnoses months or years earlier than they would have otherwise. But sure, computer stuff. Brittany's favorite phrase, one she repeated at every family dinner like a mantra, was, "Some people build empires. Others just write code for someone else's dream." She'd never held a real job in her life. Not one W-2. Not one tax return showing actual income. I'd spent 15 years hoping they'd notice. Hoping that one year, Dad would ask about my work. Hoping Mom would Google my name and see the articles. hoping Brittany would realize that calling yourself an entrepreneur doesn't make you one, revenue does. I told myself it didn't matter. I told myself I was successful regardless of their validation. I told myself I'd built a good life in Boston with colleagues who respected my work and friends who actually asked about my projects. But it did matter. It mattered every single time I drove home for holidays and watched my parents light up when Brittany walked in with another business idea and barely glance at me when I arrived. It mattered every time Dad wrote Brittany another check and told me I was doing fine when I mentioned a promotion. It mattered every time Mom posted Facebook photos of Brittany's pyramid scheme products with captions like, "So proud of my entrepreneurial daughter," and never once shared the TechCrunch article about my AI breakthrough. For 15 years, it mattered. And then came Thanksgiving. Last Thanksgiving. Mom's house in suburban Chicago. The annual dinner she hosted for extended family and their friends. I drove in from Boston the night before. 6-hour drive through late November sleet. I'd taken 3 days off work, the first vacation time I'd used in 8 months, because Mom had specifically asked me to come early and help with preparations. I showed up Wednesday evening with a homemade sweet potato casserole and a bottle of expensive wine. Mom barely looked up from her phone. "Oh good, you're here. Can you set the table? Brittany's running late." Brittany arrived Thursday at noon. 3 hours late. Carrying nothing. Wearing a brand new Louis Vuitton bag, the never-full tote, $3,200. I knew because I'd seen it online and consciously decided not to spend that much on a bag. "Early Christmas gift from Mom," Brittany announced, tossing it on the couch. I'd received a text from Mom 2 weeks earlier asking what I wanted for Christmas. I'd said a book would be nice. Dinner started at 2. 45 guests. Extended family, parents, friends, neighbors. The dining room table overflowed into the living room with folding tables and mismatched chairs. Karen Walsh sat at the main table. Karen, my CTO, my mentor, the woman who'd built 3 successful startups and was the smartest person I'd ever worked with, had been invited by my parents after I'd mentioned she was in Chicago visiting family for the holiday. Mom had been thrilled to host someone important. The irony wasn't lost on me. Around 3 o'clock, after the turkey but before dessert, Mom's friend Barbara asked the table, "So, what do your daughters do?" This was Mom's favorite moment. The one where she got to brag. Mom smiled, gesturing to Brittany with her wine glass. "Brittany is launching a wellness empire. She's an entrepreneur in the blockchain space. Digital health and financial empowerment." Brittany beamed. "I'm building generational wealth through decentralized wellness networks." That meant nothing. Those words, strung together like that, meant absolutely nothing. Barbara nodded politely, then turned to me. "And Maya?" Mom waved her hand dismissively. "Oh, Maya does computer stuff. You know, tech things." Brittany's the impressive one. My hands went cold. Not shaking. Just cold. That specific kind of cold where you're too steady. Dangerous steady. Brittany laughed, loud enough that conversations at the adjacent table stopped. "Yeah, Maya probably fixes printers or files papers or something. Meanwhile, I'm building a 7-figure empire." Mom nodded enthusiastically. "Exactly. We're so proud of Brittany's vision. She's going to change the world." 3 seats away, Karen Walsh's fork stopped midway to her mouth. Her eyes went wide. She looked at me. I stood in the hallway. I'd gotten up to get the casserole from the kitchen, holding the dish with oven mitts, hearing every single word through the open doorway. 15 years of being invisible crystallized into one moment. I walked back into the dining room. Set down the casserole. Sat down. Said nothing. Karen caught my eye. Raised an eyebrow that clearly asked, "Do you want me to say something?" I shook my head slightly. Barely perceptible. "Not yet." Under the table, I pulled out my phone and texted her, "Christmas party. 2 weeks. Be there." She texted back within seconds, "Absolutely." I spent the rest of dinner smiling politely while my family praised Brittany's non-existent empire. Something had shifted inside me. Not rage. Clarity. I was done hoping they'd see me. I drove back to Boston the next morning. 6 hours in silence. No music. No podcasts. Just my thoughts and the hum of the highway. By the time I pulled into my apartment parking garage, I knew exactly what I was going to do. That night, Friday, the day after Thanksgiving, I opened my laptop at my kitchen table and started compiling. My cat, Algorithm, curled up next to the keyboard and watched me work. I worked methodically, calmly. This wasn't about emotion. This was about documentation. I pulled my MIT diploma from the drawer where I kept important documents. Bachelor of Science in Computer Science and Artificial Intelligence. Summa cum laude. 3.94 GPA. I scanned it at high resolution. I found my MIT transcript. For years of A's and A minuses. Dean's List every semester. I saved it to a folder titled Christmas_evidence. Second, professional achievements. I logged into my work email and downloaded every significant accomplishment I could document. Patent certificates. All 8 of them. Filed between 2 years ago and 6 months ago. Healthcare diagnostic AI. Patient data pattern recognition. Cardiac anomaly detection systems. Each one with my name listed as primary inventor. Publication record. 12 technical papers in major journals. Journal of Artificial Intelligence in Medicine. IEEE transactions on healthcare systems. Nature, machine learning applications. I compiled them into a single PDF with my name highlighted. Company press releases. TechVentures had issued 7 press releases about our AI healthcare division in the past 3 years. My name appeared in 5 of them. I saved each one. Media coverage. This was the goldmine. TechCrunch had featured our healthcare AI breakthrough 8 months ago with the headline, Boston Startup Revolutionizes Early Disease Detection. Forbes had profiled me 3 months ago, full photo, 3,000-word article, homepage placement on their technology section. CNN had interviewed me about AI in medicine 2 months ago. A 5-minute segment that aired during their morning business hour. I downloaded every article, every video, every mention. Organized them chronologically. Created a summary document. I pulled my last 3 pay stubs. Gross annual income, $285,000. I highlighted the number. I logged into my investment accounts. Retirement savings, $147,000 at age 32. All self-funded. I took screenshots. I looked up the average MLM seller's income, the actual data from income disclosure statements that companies like LuLaRoe and Young Living were legally required to publish. Bottom 99% of sellers, median annual income of $536. Many lost money. I printed the statistics. I pulled TechVentures' annual report from our internal portal. Our AI healthcare division, the division I led, had generated $47 million in revenue last fiscal year. Our diagnostic AI was currently deployed in 340 hospitals across the United States and Canada. We had contracts pending with 217 more. I documented my team, 12 software engineers, 2 data scientists, 1 project manager. All reporting to me. Average team member salary, $112,000. I created a 1-page summary with bullet points. Facts only. No commentary. I called Karen Saturday morning. Do you have time for coffee? We met at a cafe in Cambridge an hour later. I brought my laptop. I need you to understand what happened Thursday, I started. Maya, Karen interrupted. I was there. I heard every word. Your mother dismissed you. Your sister mocked you. In front of executives and family. She leaned forward. I've known you for 6 years. You lead the most successful division in our company. You're the reason we have hospital contracts. And your family thinks you fix printers. They've never asked, I said quietly. In 15 years, they've never once asked what I actually do. Karen's jaw tightened. What do you need from me? Christmas party. My parents' house. 3 weeks from now. Will you come as my guest? Yes, she said immediately. What else? I'm going to introduce you. With your full credentials. And I'm going to have evidence. Karen smiled. Not a friendly smile. A strategic smile. I'll bring business cards. And I'll bring the company annual report, the one with your division's revenue highlighted. And I'll make sure I'm wearing my Harvard Business School ring. She'd sold her last startup for $120 million 4 years ago. Before that, She'd founded and exited 2 other companies. She sat on 3 corporate boards. She'd been featured in Fortune, Bloomberg, and Fast Company. She was the kind of person my mother desperately wanted to impress. "One more thing," Karen added. "I'll bring my wife. She's a cardiac surgeon at Mass General. She uses your AI system. She can speak to its medical impact firsthand." I felt something loosen in my chest. Not relief. Validation. "Thank you," I said. Over the next 2 weeks, I refined everything. I printed the Forbes article full color, glossy photo of me in the Tech Ventures lab, standing next to the server racks that ran our AI models. I ordered a leather portfolio to hold the documents. I practiced what I'd say. Calm. Cold. Factual. No yelling. No crying. No drama. Just evidence. By December 20th, 2 days before the Christmas party, I had everything organized. Karen had confirmed she and her wife would attend. I'd bought a navy blue dress. Professional, elegant, expensive. I'd rehearsed my introduction 20 times in front of my bathroom mirror. I was ready. Christmas Eve. My parents' house. 7 o'clock. I arrived exactly on time with Karen and her wife, Dr. Jennifer Martinez. Karen wore a black cocktail dress and her Harvard ring. Jennifer wore elegant gray slacks and a silk blouse with her Mass General Hospital ID still clipped to her purse, visible if you looked. The house was packed. 45 guests again. Extended family, neighbors, parents, colleagues. String lights everywhere. Christmas music playing from the Bluetooth speaker. The smell of ham and pie filling every room. Brittany was holding court in the living room when we walked in. She stood near the fireplace with a circle of relatives, gesturing enthusiastically with a champagne flute. "So the blockchain wellness platform launches in Q1, she was saying. "We're projecting 7 figures in the first year. I've been meeting with investors all month." She wore another new designer outfit. Gucci belt. Balenciaga sneakers. Gifts from mom, undoubtedly. I caught fragments of her pitch as I helped Karen and Jennifer with their coats. Decentralized health optimization, cryptocurrency rewards for wellness activities, disrupting the healthcare industry. Mom rushed over when she saw us. "Maya, you made it." Then she noticed Karen and Jennifer. Her eyes lit up. She recognized Karen from Thanksgiving. "Mrs. Walsh." "Dr. Martinez. I'm so glad you could join us. Please, come in, let me get you drinks." "Actually, Mom," I interrupted quietly. "I'd like to introduce them properly." Something in my tone made her pause. The room's attention shifted. Conversations faded. Even Brittany stopped mid-sentence and turned. I walked into the center of the living room. Karen and Jennifer flanked me. My voice was calm. Steady. Not loud, but clear enough that every person in that room heard me. "Everyone, I'd like to introduce my guests. This is Dr. Karen Walsh, Chief Technology Officer of Tech Ventures, where I work." I paused. Let that sink in. Karen founded 3 successful startups before joining our company. She sold her last company for $120 million. She holds 2 Harvard degrees, computer science and business administration. She sits on the boards of 3 Fortune 500 technology companies. The room went absolutely silent. Karen smiled graciously. "Maya is being modest," she said, her voice carrying that natural authority that came from decades of boardrooms and investor pitches. "Maya leads our entire AI healthcare division. Her diagnostic AI system is currently deployed in 340 hospitals across North America. Last quarter alone, her work generated $47 million in revenue for our company." I saw Dad's face strain of color. Jennifer stepped forward. "I'm Dr. Jennifer Martinez, cardiac surgeon at Massachusetts General Hospital. I use Maya's AI system every single day. Her diagnostic algorithm detects early-stage cardiac anomalies that human doctors miss 70% of the time. Since implementing her system 8 months ago, our early detection rate has increased by 41%. That translates to real patients getting life-saving diagnoses months or years earlier than they would have otherwise." Karen pulled out her phone. Maya was featured on the Forbes technology homepage 3 months ago. She held up her screen. There I was, full color photo, professional lighting, standing in our lab. The headline read, "Female Engineer Revolutionizes AI Healthcare Diagnostics." She swiped. TechCrunch covered her breakthrough. Swipe. CNN interviewed her about AI and medicine. Swipe. She holds 8 patents. Mom stood frozen, wine glass trembling in her hand. I turned to look directly at Brittany. Her face had gone sheet white. For 15 years, I said quietly, nobody in this family ever asked what I actually do. You assumed I was nobody. That I fixed printers or filed papers. You praised Brittany's pyramid schemes, businesses that have generated exactly $0 in 6 years, while dismissing the work I do that saves actual human lives. Dad tried to speak. Maya, we didn't know. You didn't ask, I cut him off. My voice was ice. In 15 years, you never once asked. Barbara, Mom's friend who'd asked about me at Thanksgiving, pulled out her phone and Googled my name. Her eyes went wide as page after page of articles appeared. Another guest, someone I vaguely recognized as a neighbor, did the same. Then another. Within 30 seconds, half the room was Googling me. Oh my God, someone whispered. Karen handed me the leather portfolio I'd prepared. I opened it and showed the first page, my MIT diploma, to the room. I paid my own way through MIT, I said. While you threw a party for Brittany's community college acceptance. I turned the page. Patent certificates. I hold 8 patents in healthcare AI. Brittany's held 0 jobs. Another page. My last pay stub, with salary highlighted. I make $285,000 a year. Brittany makes 0. The room was so quiet I could hear the Christmas music playing from the speaker in the corner. Silent night. You chose Brittany, I said to my parents. For 15 years, you chose her. You funded her scams. You praised her delusions. You gave her Louis Vuitton bags while asking what book I wanted for Christmas. Mom's face crumpled. Maya, please. I'm not finished, I said. For guests approached me immediately. While Brittany fled upstairs and my parents stood frozen, people wanted to hear about my work. One of them was Thomas Richardson, someone I vaguely remembered as Dad's colleague. He introduced himself properly, Chief Technology Officer at Memorial Hospital, Chicago. Your AI system, he said. We've been evaluating it for 3 months. I had no idea you were Jim's daughter. I'd like to discuss implementation with you directly after the holidays. He handed me his business card. Hospital letterhead. Direct line. Another guest, a woman named Patricia who turned out to be a hospital CEO 2 towns over, asked detailed questions about our diagnostic accuracy rates and integration process. She took my business card. Said her hospital was looking for exactly this kind of system. By 9 o'clock, I'd given out 7 business cards to people who actually understood what I did. Who wanted to talk about AI healthcare, about diagnostic algorithms, about saving lives through better technology. Karen spent 20 minutes talking with a group of guests about the future of healthcare AI. Jennifer described specific cases where my system had caught anomalies human doctors initially missed. Meanwhile, Brittany stayed upstairs. Mom tried 3 times to pull me aside. I avoided her each time. Dad attempted damage control. I heard him telling guests, yes, our daughter the engineer, we're so proud of her work at that tech company. I walked over. Interrupted him mid-sentence. You mean the daughter you dismissed for 15 years? I said quietly. Just to him. The daughter whose accomplishments you never once asked about? That daughter. He had nothing to say. At 10:30, I found Mom in the kitchen. She was crying. Actually crying, mascara running. Maya, please. Why didn't you ever tell us? About MIT, about your job, about. You never asked, I repeated. Mom, I told you I worked in AI. I mentioned tech ventures dozens of times. I told you I led a team. You never asked a single follow-up question. Not one. You were too busy funding Brittany's pyramid schemes and bragging about her entrepreneurial vision. But, did you know, I interrupted, that in 6 years of entrepreneurship, Brittany has never filed a tax return showing business income? Not 1 year. Because she's never made a profit. Not a single dollar. But you've given her $85,000. Money that's never coming back. Mom's face went white. She said her businesses were pyramid schemes, I finished. Legal pyramid schemes that prey on people exactly like her. The average MLM seller makes $536 a year. Most lose money. Those are the official numbers from income disclosure statements. You could have Googled this any time in the past 6 years. I wasn't yelling. I wasn't emotional. I was stating facts. I need you to understand something, I continued. I'm successful because I worked for it. I paid my own way through MIT. I built my career through confidence and results. And you never noticed because you were too busy pretending Brittany was impressive. I walked away before she could respond. By 11, guests were leaving. Multiple people told me they were Googling my work and following up after the holidays. Patricia, the hospital CEO, sent me an email before she'd even left the driveway. Subject line, implementation discussion, Memorial West Hospital. Brittany came downstairs once, briefly. Saw me talking with Jennifer and Karen, surrounded by interested guests. Saw people treating me like an expert. Turned around and went back upstairs without saying a word. Karen, Jennifer, and I left at 11:30. We stood in my parents' driveway, cold December air turning our breath to fog. That, Karen said, was one of the most professionally executed confrontations I've ever witnessed. Jennifer laughed. Your mother looked like she'd been hit with a brick. Evidence, I said simply. Let the work speak for itself. We hugged goodbye. They drove off toward their hotel. I stood in the driveway for one more minute, looking at my parents' house. Lights still on. Shadows moving behind curtains. Then I got in my Honda Civic and drove back to Boston. I didn't look back. The aftermath unfolded over the next 3 months. I blocked my parents' numbers the week after Christmas. Mom called 18 times the first 3 days. I answered once. Let it go to the 10th ring before picking up. Can we talk about what happened? She asked. Her voice small. You had 15 years to talk, I said. You chose Brittany. I hung up. Dad tried showing up at Tech Ventures 6 weeks later. Building security called me. We have photos of all employees and family flagged for any who require authorization for visits. I'd updated my file the day after Christmas. No family visits without explicit written permission from me. Security turned him away. He stood in the lobby for 10 minutes, they told me later, before finally leaving. I never changed the authorization policy. Extended family learned what happened fast. Word spread through the Chicago relatives like wildfire. Turns out everyone had been Googling me after Christmas. My cousin Sarah called to apologize for never realizing. My Aunt Lisa sent a long email expressing shock that my parents had never mentioned my actual career. I responded politely but briefly. Thanked them for reaching out. Didn't elaborate. Brittany's life fell apart methodically. Her blockchain wellness platform never launched. One investor she'd been courting Googled her after someone at the Christmas party mentioned the disaster. Found nothing but her Instagram posts and pyramid scheme complaints from former LuLaRoe and Young Living victims she'd recruited years ago. The investor ghosted her. Her Instagram engagement, the place where she'd built her entire personal brand, collapsed. People who'd followed her for wellness content started commenting, wait, your sister is the Maya Patel? The Forbes AI engineer? And you said she fixes printers. She deleted most of her posts. Then she made her account private. Last I heard from my cousin Sarah, 3 months after Christmas, Brittany was working retail at Target for $16 an hour. Folding clothes and running register. Living at home still. No longer calling herself an entrepreneur. Mom tried sending me cards. One for my birthday in February. One for Easter. Both had long handwritten notes about how sorry they were, how they didn't understand, how they wanted to fix this. I didn't respond. Dad sent an email in March. Subject line, please read this. Long message about regret and pride and family. How they'd made mistakes but loved me. I read it once. Then archived it without responding. Because here's the thing they didn't understand. I didn't need their pride now. I'd needed it 15 years ago. I'd needed it every time I came home with an achievement and they looked past me to praise Brittany's mediocrity. I'd needed them to ask. Just once. Maya, what do you actually do? Tell us about your work. They never did. So I was done needing them. Today, 8 months after that Christmas party, my life looks completely different. I'm still at Tech Ventures, still leading the AI healthcare division. But now I'm making $320,000 a year after a promotion in April. I'm officially Senior Director of AI Research and Development. My team has grown from 12 to 17 engineers. We've filed 2 more patents. We're in talks with international hospitals, Canada, UK, Australia, about deploying our diagnostic system globally. The hospital contracts that came directly from Christmas Party Connections. 3. Thomas Richardson's Memorial Hospital implemented our system in March. Full deployment across their cardiac and oncology departments. Patricia's Memorial West Hospital started pilot testing in April. And one other hospital, whose administrator heard about my work through the Chicago Medical Community Network, reached out in February. Combined contract value, $1.8 million annually. All because I finally showed my family who I actually was. Forbes featured me again last month. This time, 30 under 35, healthcare technology leaders reshaping medicine. Full profile. 2-page spread. They interviewed Karen, who said, "Maya doesn't just build AI systems. She builds technology that closes the gap between what doctors can see and what patients need." The article mentioned that I was 33 now. Still counted for the 30 under 35 list because I'd been featured the previous year before my birthday. My parents sent me a copy of the magazine in the mail. No note. Just the magazine with my pages bookmarked. I haven't responded. Every Sunday, I have brunch with my chosen family. Karen and Jennifer. My MIT roommate Lisa, who's now a professor at Boston University. 3 engineers from my team who've become genuine friends, people who actually ask about my projects and understand the answers. Sometimes Karen's adult daughter joins us. Sometimes Jennifer's brother, who's a data scientist at a biotech company. We rotate who hosts. We talk about work and books and terrible dating app stories and new restaurants and AI ethics and everything else that matters. Nobody dismisses what I do. Nobody compares me to a sibling who's more impressive. Nobody assumes I fix printers. They know exactly who I am because they asked. I moved to a better apartment in April. 2 bedrooms, waterfront view of the Charles River, floor-to-ceiling windows. $3,400 a month. I can afford it easily now. Algorithm. My cat loves the window perches where he can watch boats. I'm dating someone. Another engineer I met at a conference in May. He's brilliant and kind, and the first thing he asked me on our first date was, "Tell me about your research." I read the Forbes article, but I want to hear it from you. I talked for 20 minutes about healthcare AI. He asked follow-up questions. Good ones. Technical ones that showed he actually understood. We're taking it slow, but it feels right. My parents? I send them company press releases when my work gets published. Just emails with PDF attachments. Subject line, Tech Ventures press release. No personal message. No, hi mom and dad. No, hope you're well. Just facts. Last month, the press release announced our international hospital contracts. 217 hospitals across 3 countries. Projected 3-year revenue, $89 million. Mom replied, "We're so proud of you. Please call us." I didn't. Because Pride now 8 months late, after public humiliation forced them to Google my name, doesn't undo 15 years of being invisible. I'm not angry anymore. I'm not hurt. I'm just done. And I'm thriving. I learned something important through all of this. Your worth isn't determined by the people who raised you. Some people don't want to see you, they want to use you. Or ignore you. Or project their own failures onto you by building up someone else. The bravest thing I did wasn't presenting evidence at a Christmas party. It was walking away from people who had 15 years to ask about my life and chose not to. Cutting ties isn't cruelty when those ties only drained you. It's survival. It's choosing peace over the exhausting hope that maybe, someday, they'll finally see you. Your success isn't a family asset. It's not something they get to claim once it's convenient, once other people validate it for them. It's yours. You built it. You earned it. And you get to decide who deserves access to your life. Blood doesn't mean unconditional access to you. If you've ever walked away from family who dismissed your achievements, share your story in the comments. Hit subscribe for more stories about setting boundaries and building the life you actually want. And remember, The people who genuinely matter will ask. They'll care. They'll see you without needing a Forbes article to tell them you're worth their attention. Your real family, the one that counts, is the one that shows up when you're still building, not just when you've already succeeded.